We are the only player in the market, or I would say the only probably entity in the world which can actually allow you to access the SREIT leader index. I mean, you can probably see the index yourself, but there is no product globally that actually allows you access. We partnered with SGX almost a year ago, and it's been a great, they've been great partners to work with. And this actually allows us to create a REIT portfolio which is customized for Singapore, made for Singapore. And we'll talk a bit more about what actually went to it, and has actually far outperformed some of the other, I guess, ETF options, etc. out there. So just in summary, right, we created this index alongside SGX to track the largest and the most liquid REITs on SGX. There's, of course, a very good capital appreciation, but I think one of the most interesting aspects is the dividend yield, which is about 5.1% in 2019. I think last year with COVID, it came off, but it was still north of 4. And I think with the way how things are going, it's very likely you'll actually shoot up, above that 5 much, maybe again this year, right? We of course look at free float liquidity, see that there should be at least some sort of a minimum 20% is the free float that we require before we choose a particular REIT to be part of our index. Similarly, we also look and put a 10% cap. Like we want enough diversification. We wouldn't over have any one REIT, because at the end of the day, diversification is important, right? Because if you don't, and last year was a great example. If you were, let's say, in a commercial REIT, you could be suffering, right? Because markets are very different. If you stay diversified, no matter what happens, generally one of things, when they lose, the other one gains, and it kind of balances out, right? The question we get asked very often is, all right, you looked at these factors, but how do you actually decide what REITs to go? Now, the REIT index itself, if I'm not mistaken, has about 46 components. We actually want to limit it up to top 20. And one of the big reasons for that is because we do have a weightage towards market cap. In fact, our process essentially, if you can see from top down, it starts with eligibility, then goes to liquidity. This is important because in Singapore, it's not the most liquid market, but at least for the REITs that you're trading, the ability for us to trade millions and millions of dollars on a REIT every day needs to happen, because that's the kind of size we deal with. And we need to have that kind of flexibility that we can do it without impacting the market, and hence, ensuring the best execution for you. But when factors like market capitalization come in, that is when, we decide it does not make sense to maybe go to the, REIT number 43, because it might be too small, to add in the index. And it will basically be a very small, factor in impacting the index performance or the way it should be. Of course, I did mention about diversification. And lastly, and this is actually very interesting, and this is, I think, one thing very good which we do, we optimize, right? We do choose our components to ensure that the tracking error is actually just under 0.5%, which is considered the gold standard. Now, what that means is that the performance of our REIT Plus portfolio will be 99.5% similar to the index itself, right? Which is what you want, because if we become too cheeky with our selections, then that tracking error, moves up massively. So the reality is, if you essentially, if the index actually is up 10%, we will be within that, 0.5% range up or down, right? And I think that's very important for you to know as an investor. Now, we, of course, work with SGX on this. We do review these regularly, especially when, big potential moves go in, such as mergers, etc. But there is a periodic semi-annual rebalance which happens. It happens in March. I think some of you who are on the platform would have seen an email from us, and then it happens, towards September, so twice a year, just to ensure that these factors are still met and the components, come in. And that is what, if you see this time, like for example, we removed SPH REIT because it did not hit our criteria, and we added a couple of REITs instead of SPH. Now, this is the composition as of the 19th of March, which is after the rebalance, right? The highest weightage is CapitaLand, followed by Ascendas and Maple Tree Industrial Trust, and then obviously logistics and so on and so forth. Now, if you see on the right hand side, you can actually see these are all these are like familiar landmarks that So in some ways, you're indirectly actually getting exposure to things you can look and touch, and that's, at least personally, that's one thing I find very fascinating about REIT as a product, right? It's something, I mean, you're almost indirectly buying a piece of land, in some regards, which is very different to, when you buy, I don't know, a high growth tech stock, which has its advantages, but also can be very volatile, and sometimes there's no real, physical backing, right? Now, as I mentioned, it's a 10% cap, but of course, because of intraday movement, sometimes, that number might go up. That's why you see a slight jump for CapitaLand over 10%. But of course, when the rebalance happens, that numbers again come back to 10%, and that's something we do. I think what you interestingly see is that you see a lot of industrial and logistics, right up there. And I think this has been a great boon for us because these actually REITs did well even through the span of COVID, right? Of course, we believe in long-term investing, and essentially most of the commercial REITs have also recovered. So any of the customers who've been with us, have benefited and actually have come up higher positive rather than losing out. But it's something very important for you to know because that diversification allows you to get access across industries and across sectors for that matter. Now, one interesting thing we do is that traditionally, and I think some of you at least who were REIT investors back in 2008, it wasn't a great year, especially for the real estate market, right? I was a trader back then at UBS. Sometimes it feels long ago, but I was on the trading floor when Lehman was going down and the world was ending in some ways, right? And you saw like stocks lose like 50, 60, 70% of their value, right? We actually do allow a risk managed option also on the REIT. If your concern is that, hey, what if I have a 50, 60% move? We actually have a risk managed REIT portfolio where when markets are volatile, we actually do sell the REITs and we buy the bonds. And I'll show you this in one of the following slides because last year was a good example in what happened and how this actually translated. But again, there's just the two options. Either you go 100% REITs or you go into REITs with risk management. Now, this is what I was referring to, right? If you look at the blue line, right, and this is like a 6-month duration, from Jan to June last year. The blue line is actually what a REIT 100 or essentially the index was doing, right? Now, if you look carefully from the high to low, there was a 35% correction, right? But if you look at the blue, the red dots, right? And customers, and many of you were customers back then, you would have actually experienced this firsthand. This is when we rebalance. And on the right, you can see what we did on the second. We moved REITs from 7% to, actually 50%, right? Which we decreased the composition, of REITs and we replaced it by bonds because the markets were very volatile. And that exactly is what happened, what you can see, right? There was a massive correction, but those who were on the risk managed product. Now, I think what's more interesting to realize is one argument is, of course, that, markets will come up and you will recover with it. And I still think that is a great mentality. And if that's your mindset, I would recommend a 100% REIT product for you. But the reality is when things were going down 35%, March 22nd, I remember we were in this old office. It was a stressful time. And any investor would be like, this could be 2008 all over again, right? Should I just cut my losses? And some of you might have sold this, right? The advantage of a risk managed product is that you normally will never have that level of a loss, which would actually make you feel a bit comfortable and you might not have that urge to sell. And that is a bit powerful because essentially we still believe in long-term investment and stay. And if I say if you look on the second row in the trailing returns, right, you will see that actually the risk managed portfolio did significantly outperform and had a 2.6% return for that duration, whereas the 100% REIT, has marginally broken even, right? So there is some obviously advantage. Of course, if you look over a longer duration, as we normally say, right, essentially you will of course see 100% REIT perform because in generally you would expect it's a higher component to REITs and over time it will rise and give a higher dividend yield and good value. But I think if you ask yourself, can you be disciplined? If you can be disciplined, 100% REIT is the option. If you're someone who might panic a little bit, and might sell out 10 here and there, then I would say stick on to your, principle of taking maybe a risk managed option per se. Now, the interesting thing is, even in the risk managed one, we do have a 50% cap. That is the minimum REITs that will always be there. If it ever falls, like as you can see on the 19th March rebalance, we will increase the component to bring it up, back to 50%. No surprises on the right-hand side. The 100% REIT has a higher dividend yield, and that's of course because it has a higher amount of, REITs in general. So it should just give a higher percentage out in that aspect of things. The big question is that, which we get asked, and I think it's probably one of my favorite slides was done by one of these bloggers, with whose permission we're now replicating the slide, is that what is the difference between, DIY or a REIT ETF and SIPE REIT Plus, right? Now, I think one advantage that DIY offers, I would perhaps also caveat, the only advantage it offers is that you can choose your own REITs. But as I've mentioned before, I think diversification is the right thing to do because, if you take a single REIT, there's always a risk. There could be something wrong with the company. But if you really, really want to choose, then okay, I really want to buy this X REIT, great. I think DIY is the right option for you, right? Otherwise, when you take a REIT ETF or you take SIPE, right, generally, we have portfolios which are basically constructed and we manage, the overall portfolio to track the index, right? Now, the big difference in REIT ETF and DIY versus SIPE is the buy and selling transaction fees. And this is very important because, some of them, they cheekily say, oh, our Singapore trading, commissions are only 8 basis points. But what they will not tell you that is a minimum of $10. Now, what that translates to is that if you have to buy, you have to minimum buy, you know, let me put it, like $12,000 worth of stock per REIT to justify the brokerage. And that is each direction, right? Plus you've paid that $10 away for it, right? Whereas with the SIFE REIT Plus, there is no charges. It's all included in your fees. It's all inclusive, right? Uh, of course, with the REIT ETF, generally they have low management fees, but REIT Plus obviously is, much, much better. Now, we also subscribe for rights, just like, a REIT ETF would do. If you do DIY, you have to do it yourself, it's a bit painful. But the last point, and I think the second most interesting point of this thing is reinvesting of dividends. Now, this might seem like a small thing, but we actually ran numbers. If you reinvested all your dividends which you've always received, you would increase your performance by roughly 0.5%. And if anything, you should compare SIFE REIT Plus with any REIT ETF in performance. And I can tell you that we would have definitely outperformed for this simple reason, right? And that is also before including any of your transaction buying selling fees, right? So it's not the easiest to compare, but even if you judge it on a pure metric performance, this fact that we can reinvest our dividends actually, really, ends up, doing. So overall, the effort that you require is significantly lower if you end up with SIFE REIT Plus, and returns genuinely, are market returns. Of course, there is a possibility of getting higher return if you went DIY, but there's a potential of even losing much more for that reason.